Hi guys, what are we gonna do today? Well, yesterday was Memorial Day, and depending on when you're watching this, another patriotic holiday is coming up. So I think today we are gonna work on this fun bunting banner, Americana style. So even if you're not in America, this is still a fun project. You could use any colors and designs, but it's just a fun way to put a garland together. Let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to decide is how big do you want your bunting, how long do you want your bunting. I use just 11-inch book pages and I cut these triangles. And this is actually my background right here. And what I'm going to do next is take another paper and triangle slightly smaller that'll be layered on top of that. And what I'm going to do is I want to cut my triangle that I layer on top just slightly smaller. So all I'm going to do is just cut a little bit off of this triangle so I have a nice little pattern. And I'm just going to use this paper that I have, but you can use any paper you want. And I don't mind using this. A lot of it's going to be covered anyway. Okay, now we are going to decorate our pieces. Any images you can find, you can use transfers, you can use decoupage paper, you can use words, images, and I'm going to do a couple up here and you can see how I've just layered them all on here. So I'm just gathering some things I would like to use on here, not like I'm going to use it all. Here's some decoupage paper we have. This is just pretty because it's got blue, this has got some red, white, and blue. And I'm even going to use these, maybe a couple of these patriotic girls on one of them. I also found some fun tags and images online and some red, white, and blue transfer pieces. So I'm going to start laying these out and we'll glue them on. I'm going to start with a few background pieces that I want to use. I'm going to do some tearing and ripping and not as much fine cutting. So it doesn't have to be exact. And I just want just a vague background because I'm going to be adding a lot of other things to it. So I'm just going to layer some things the way I like it. Another fun thing to do is, this right here is a nice big saying that you could add a piece to each line across and have a fun saying on there too. I know for sure I am going to use these 4 blocks to start on here. So I'm just going to glue these down right now. And I'm just using a Mod Podge glue, but you could use any type of a glue you would like. Even an Elmer's glue, a glue stick, whatever works for you. You could even sew them on. And then I'm just going to build on to this. See, and I don't even mind that this goes over. It'll be on my other triangle and that will be just fine. So just for the fun of it, I'm going to add a few transfer scraps. But this is another optional thing. I would use whatever you've got. See, this just has some really pretty red, white, and blue. So I think I'm just going to add it in just because it is red, white, and blue. So this time when I'm doing composition, I'm really doing it by color. I'm making things that normally might not look like they go together because of the color. And then you're also utilizing a lot of the scraps that you might have around. So when I'm using a thin decoupage paper, if I'm wanting to rip this, I just need to use a little bit of water. But you got to be careful that you don't go too close because it can shred right into the image you're trying to cut out. I'll probably use 1 line of this on each of the triangles, and that's what ties it all together. So here's another fun trick. You could just decoupage this right on here, but if you wanted it to stand out a little more, you could put it on a sheet of paper and outline it. So when you're working with your pieces, the more you layer and add, the more dimension you get and more interest to your piece. Okay, let's start on another one. These will be aged, so they'll look a little bit different, but this kind of gives you an idea how it's coming together. Okay, let's get to the next step. Okay, so what I'm going to do is tack these down on to the center of my book paper triangle, because I'm going to sew these. Now, if you're not going to sew these, you're going to want to glue them down really well, or you could even just staple them on if you'd like. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a zigzag stitch around all 4 of these pieces real quick. These are kind of lightly tacked onto here, so I am just gonna do a zigzag stitch around the edges of these. Okay, let's put our trim around the buntings. Okay, I'm gonna put a trim around these, and I am using, it's like a red paper twist. We have this on My Favorite Things, and I got this off of Amazon. So all I'm gonna do is just kind of measure here, all the way down, and then up to here on my bunting, and then I'm going to cut this. And this is, now this will actually do 2 of mine, because I'm gonna cut it down the center because it's really thick. But you could use crepe paper, you could use ribbon, you don't have to use anything. So you're gonna wanna use a glue. A glue stick might not be strong enough to hold it. You could actually sew it on here, use hot glue. I'm just gonna use my Mod Podge, and all I'm gonna do is go on the back edge, thick layer of this on the back edge. Start here at the top. Just do a little fold right there. And I'm gonna do this to all 4 of them. You can see I just put my finger there, folded it up. Okay, let's trim these ends off real quick. Okay, I think we're going to wax these now. Okay, and I'm just using some clear wax on this first. If you've seen my other videos, whenever I do wax on paper, the clear wax gives you a buffer that if you're gonna use a dark wax or another color wax, if you get too much dark or another color wax, this will help you take some of it off. So I'll put a little dark on here. And if you want this aged, if you have another favorite way of aging papers and doing things, go for that. These are just some ideas and things that I do. Okay, I'm gonna put these aside, and we are going to work on our fan folding and our medallions. So what I'm gonna do next is these little fan folds. They look like little scallops in between. Now, since I only have 4 pieces, I only need 3, 1, 2, and 3, so they're in between them. However many you're doing, you just need whatever's in between. So we're gonna do 3 of these. So for my bunting, I just use this 8.5 by 11, and you can see it just looks like a big pocket. You can decide what size or how long or what you need, but this is just gonna give you a reference. It's rounded at the bottom. I'm gonna cut this out real quick. Okay, I am gonna use book paper again, and I know I need 3. So I have 3 sheets of book paper right here. I'm using that for my template, and I am cutting 3 of these out. Now, if you want to use a scoreboard, that would work really quick and fast. Or you can just fan fold on your own. I just fold this. So I have a little mark here for the center. Now to make this easier for me, I'm just gonna put that at the 5 because I know every 1/2 inch I am just going to score. Now you can just fan fold any which way you would like, and you could even go smaller, 1/4 inch. I mean, whatever you would like to do. I started from the center, then I'm going in and out on both sides. Now we have our little scallop. What I'm gonna do with this is I am gonna bring this up, fold the top back about a 1/2 inch, and I am just gonna staple the top of it. There we go. Now I'm gonna do the other 2 just the same. Okay, we have our 3 scallops. Okay, so I've got these put together. Now you're gonna, if you want these aged, just carefully put your brush in there and you can wax these little guys up. Let's get to our medallions. So for however many of the scallops you're gonna do, you're gonna want a medallion. These are really, really simple. So what you're gonna need to do is, we are cutting our white circles. You're gonna cut 2 the same size, and then I cut smaller blue circles, and you only need 1 of those. So get all of these cut out, and then we're gonna get our paper twist and glue it around. Okay, so I cut 1 of these for each of my circles, medallions, and this is about 15 inches long. I know it seems really big, but you'll use it. And what I'm gonna do at one end is start to squish just one end together real quick. So it looks like a big gather on the other side. And it just makes it a little easier to go around. So what I'm gonna do is use my hot glue and go around this circle, a nice big blob of it. And starting right here, just start squishing it in. And you kind of need to do this quick or just do part of the hot glue at a time. Okay, I'm using pop dots. You could just glue these down, and I'm putting this in the center, and then I'm adding my second circle on top. Now, if you would like this aged a little, this is probably a good time to do it. Just age it up with just a little bit. Then I'm gonna add another pop dot. Add my glue circle. I'm using hot glue on this because it seems to hold this much better and it dries very quickly and it'll stay very sturdy on here with all your layers. But you could probably use another glue and that would work. You would just have to hold it down quite a bit longer. So I'm just gonna do this 3 times. So what I'm gonna do next is start lining my pieces up. This is a piece of paper drywall tape that you can get at the hardware store, and it already has a scored line down the center. So I'm just gonna fold that. You're gonna decide how much you need by how big your bunting is. Since I only have 4 on here, I don't need this quite as long. Figure out where your center is, and I know it's right here. And then I will start with 1 just on the other side of the center, and this other one just on the other side of the center. Look at the top, they're just about gonna touch at the top, because this is gonna go back behind. So it gives me enough room that this still is in here without a huge gap in between. So they're just about touching. Now I'm gonna sew this. So what I'm gonna do is just to hold it in place, I am just gonna run some glue stick down this whole piece on the top and on the bottom. Okay, and then I also wanted a fun trim on this. Now you could do this before or after. I wanted to sew through it, so I am adding it now. Just a quick run of glue stick down the center of this, just to hold it in place while I'm sewing it again. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a quick zigzag stitch down the center of this. There you go. Okay, so now I'm just gonna add a little wax since I've aged everything else. I'm gonna add some wax to this before I put my other pieces on because it's nice and flat. So this last step, I'm gonna get my hot glue again, and we are going to hot glue these to the back and hot glue these on top. I'm gonna turn this upside down, make it easier, and then decide which side. I like these ridges here on the outside, so I'm gonna hot glue that right there. And this is kind of thick. You could try to squish it down, but I just really found with this, it was just as easy just to put a big squish of hot glue in there and just set this in. I'm just gonna hold that there for a second. And then also just keep notice that they're kind of at the same level. One, I also added some fun dangly pieces at the end. So I'm just kind of measuring how long is that bunting, and I'll do double that size. Cut one for each end. Took my piece of red paper twist and folded it in half because I know this is how long I'm gonna want it. And then I'm taking just about an inch or so from the top and holding that. Now I'm gonna do slits, so I could either slit all the way up, but I know I would mess up because I would go crooked. So I'm just folding it up a few times to make it easier. But you're only folding up to about an inch, so you don't wanna cut all the way through your pieces. So I folded it, then I'm gonna fold it again, and then it makes it easier when I'm making my little slits. I only go right here, and they've cut all the way through. And once again, I'm just gonna squish this together and I'm gonna hot glue this to the back. So on the back of this end, I'm just gonna put a little more hot glue. I'm just gonna squish it in there. Okay guys, I hope you thought this was fun, and I hope you think it was really, really easy. The fun thing about this is whether you do it smaller or really long, You could change this idea out for any occasion, any type of bunting. I hope you guys try this out, but have fun.